I get hit from both sides all the time.
Oh, well, yeah, but,
And it's like a perpetual argument when you don't pick a flag to rally behind. Yeah, they were just hitting me left and right about my voting choice. I was like,
oh,
so I
well,
spun out yesterday instead of doing anything else. So,
well, today should be fun.
yeah, raging.
But I, on voting and party affiliation, well, the whole time we were in the military, you weren't supposed to have, at least,
I missed that.
you weren't supposed to.
God, you weren't supposed to. It's
Well, you
still-
could have your own, well,
Yeah.
you had to, everybody has their own personal
It's pretty
views.
prolific. I've watched it change over the last 20 years. When I first came in, you didn't mention who you were going to vote for at all.
Neither did you have tattoos,
No. Well, you could, but they had to be hidden.
I suppose.
Because I came in with tattoos, but they had to be under my sleeves. You know, you couldn't be seen in this style uniform. But anyhow, it really it evolved from you don't talk about that. We're soldiers. It doesn't matter who gets elected, etc. To this constant debate. You know, it was everywhere. So it was like, wow.
Even in the military?
Even in the military, especially
No kidding.
when I was in North Carolina, you never stopped hearing about it.
No kidding. That's
You didn't
interesting.
hear it from. I mean, it never got so bad that my commanders would say you should vote for this person or that person. NCOs, though, on the other hand, especially lower-ranking NCOs, were very big about convincing their troops to think this way or that way, and I was huge against it, and it turned
Yeah,
into
it was totally wrong.
turned into a problem.
When I remember I retired in 94.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the Army today is not the Army you left. Not that I'm hating on it. I'm just saying it's changed a lot since I joined
Well,
in
yeah.
2003 to now.
I'm sure the Army I was in was way
Not the
different
one I
than it
joined.
was the year before I joined. Because the year before I joined, it was a draft.
Yeah, that's true.
I joined when it became a volunteer army. And, Vietnam was over. And I thought, that's the war to end all wars. After all the protests and everything, we'll never get into another war.
Every war is the war to end all wars. There will always be a bad man out
I
there.
think that's what the Romans said. Vino Vinci Thomas or something. Good morning. How are you? So, yeah, and then of course, once I retired from the Army, teaching is really the same. Well, at least I understood it to be the same thing. That you weren't supposed to take advantage of your position to advocate for one thing or another because, well, number one, chances are you were wrong.
Right.
Number two, you always hear, and it is wrong, I think, that the academic community tends to the blue, to the liberal.
That is such a. Yeah,
Well,
I
and
agree.
then they
It's
argue
such a-
over why
it's
is
a
that the
fallacy.
case.
It's the fallacy. Actually, it's right there with what I was just talking about, non sequiturs. It's some intellectuals are liberal, therefore all intellectuals are liberal. It's a non
Well,
sequitur.
when I was a kid, the classic person who I thought of as the intellectual to grow up to be like was William F. Buckley Jr.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you're familiar with
I know
him,
he is.
But he was conservative. I mean that his influence, his
Actually conservative, old school.
his firing line, I think, was his TV show, but he had a TV show where he would interview people, and he was always with his clipboard. He was, the conservative. And the thing is, he was an intellectual conservative. His point of view was conservative from like a physics point of view. You can't do this.
Scientific. Yeah.
You can't roll things uphill without fuel,
Right.
So a lot of the things that, are pie in the sky goals for a lot of people who, they have their heart in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Trouble is, physics won't allow that.
That speaks to another problem within politics and in general debate in general. Like I just said it twice, but we have lofty goals, we have lofty dreams, we have this attitude, and I will say this, at least from my experience, what I've seen of the left and their issues, it's fine to have those issues, but you have to have a plan. How are you going to?
That will work.
Yeah, and if you don't plan, you won't find that it won't work, and then you won't find the plan that does work.
Yeah.
But they don't. We want to skip right ahead to the big glossy ending,
But
that's just not how it works.
But the worst of it is, and of course this country, all my life has been really a product of the success of a left since 1938, I believe, is the year that FDR passed a lot of things like Social Security and other programs
Right.
that were government funded, to help people out. And the thing was, so I was born in '51, so Truman was
Definitely
my
had
president
that.
when I was born. But good morning. But in a sense, and that was one thing Nick Begich kept saying on his ads, that Social Security is a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Turn off why. But in any case, every time we heard that ad on the radio, I looked at my daughters, and the two of us said together, "But it is a Ponzi scheme," because the folks that are paying into Social Security are the ones that are paying, as I understand it, that are paying for my Social Security.
Right, we pay for your Social Security, and then when I get older, my kids pay.
Yeah,
for mine.
I mean, there wasn't a great big savings account in the sky that earned money in order to help pay for the benefits of the people collecting it presently.
Well, there is though, in a sense. Social Security makes money off of interest. It's not just off of us.
Well, I understood that the government's actually spent that.
Yeah, they
So,
overspend it. That's
so
part of the problem.
yeah, so it's not making money; it's actually losing money to
But
interest.
what I'm saying is, it's not supposed to operate.
No.
That's the way that it is operating. But
But-
part of that is also because of the population differences alone. How do you
That-
pay Social Security out to a population that almost doubles the population that came after?
We closed that. Nah, she just closed her door, so.
It's just math.
We were interfering, but well, yeah, and the thing is, it was all based on the concept of growth. There had to be a certain amount of growth, and just there's all sorts of beautiful arguments. Thomas Piketty, a few years ago, in his book Capital in the 20th century, or 20th century, I'm pretty sure he said. But in any case, he demonstrates that the amount of growth will, at the most, be 3%. And as a result, it's not going to cover everything that was essentially, like a lot of the pension
Right.
plans, were based on growth in the industry that's going to support those, and actually we end up with a decrease.
Right.
So-
That's the thing. You cannot predict growth. Talk to any economist. You
What they're
cannot
predicting is
accurately predict
you can't have more growth because we've maxed out, the planet.
Depends. If there's more
basically.
innovation, there's more growth. But lacking further innovation, there's no room for growth.
Okay, well, greetings. It's 10 o'clock. It's actually 10:01. Because the growth on the clock here says.
Every second.
So today, I wanted to pick up where we left off. Did I turn this on? I did. God bless you. With fallacies. And this should be fun. If you haven't had fun lately, hopefully this class will be fun. And I brought in a book even. I know you've heard of these. I don't think I've ever seen one in class. Did anybody? A book. Oh, well, you've got them hidden. So other people have books too. But this is, yes, my house
this
is.
one 2 weeks ago. You asked me if I'd bought one.
Yeah, there you go. But in any case, this one is called Inside Jokes. And in fact, what I could do is go to a page. Oh my goodness, here we go. This will do it. Well, I don't really want, let's just straight on an ad. Let's see if we could get Daniel. PDF, ooh. That's still going to give me the same site. All right, let's go to this one. I'm not advertising for Amazon, but what I can do is share the screen. So the folks online, we already have. Wow, 8. It's even right now. How about that? But so the book I'm going to mention is Inside Jokes, and it's by Daniel Dennett and 2 other authors actually, Matthew Hurley and Reginald Adams. But the thesis, and it's obviously not just my thesis, it's actually quite an old thesis, is that logical fallacies and jokes have a basis in common. And I mean, you obviously have fallacious arguments that are not funny, especially if they're meant to be serious and they're intended to persuade people. And a lot of the fallacious arguments, so-called informal ones that we talked about, looking at the overall page, which I'll go to as well today, like the ad baculum, for example, the ad hominem. Those tend not to be funny, although, you know, if you've ever watched the annual Al Smith dinner, where the politicians are all supposed to show up and make jokes about one another, including themselves. Those are ad hominems, but they can be funny. You know, so there are some informal fallacies that can be funny in certain circumstances. A roast, when different people have a roast and a whole bunch of folks come up and make fun of somebody, most of those jokes, I think, tend to be ad hominems, you know, where they're roasting the person. But people laugh because you know, the jokes are often close enough to reality that the people recognize it as sort of true, and it's at the same time funny. And it can be serious, of course. This last one, if you, I don't know if you get to see it or not. It's an annual dinner that the Archdiocese of New York has each year for like 75 years. They've been doing it, and it's mostly to make money in order to pay for different charities in the Archdiocese. And this year they made, I think, $10 million. You know, just having a dinner and having the invited guests. But who are the invited guests? The invited guests are millionaires, billionaires, really, as well as politicians, famous people. I don't think you can get in unless, you're notoriously famous. And of course, Trump was there this year. The big issue for it this year was that Kamala Harris did not show up. And that seemed very unusual because usually both sides are there.